Hey guys, welcome back to the channel here on Overdrive Reviews for another look at a super cool car. Today we're checking this thing out, the 2024 Chevy Blazer RS. Now the Blazer, an iconic name for the Chevy brand. It went away for a few decades and then, last couple of years Chevy brought it back. For 2024, the only new thing is a new color of paint. That is basically it. When this thing was refreshed design-wise last year for 2023, all of that carries over here into the 2024 model. This thing is loosely based on the inside, inspired, you might say, on the Camaro. You can tell by the vents on the inside, all that kind of stuff. And for an SUV, kind of a basic American family SUV, it's got some aggressive styling, very fierce, kind of sexy styling that maybe you're not used to seeing from GM, especially for a truck or an SUV that, like the old Blazer, was kind of bland. So today I'll give you a total review of the inside of the outside of this thing, go under the hood, talk about the engine options that you have, and also take it out on the road, of course, and give you an idea of what this thing drives like. It has an incredible sound if you opt for the upgraded engine, and also has some major rear cargo room for rear passengers, and also some pretty impressive cargo space in the back with all of the seats down. You can get dozens of suitcases in this thing, and it's only a mid-size SUV. So if you are new to the channel here today, thank you so much for finding us. Please like this video, subscribe at the button below, and also make sure you're subscribed and following us over on Instagram as well. I appreciate all the support you guys always give us. All right, let's dive into the exterior of this 2024 Chevy Blazer RS. A huge shout out, as always, before we get going here, to my friends at Cramer's Middletown in Middletown, Pennsylvania. They lent me this car for the day to check it out, give you a full review of it here. They've got tons of cars to rent, to lease, to buy, all sorts of things at the link below. SUVs, sports cars, trucks, sedans, tons of EVs. They're like an electric vehicle hub almost here in central Pennsylvania. Find out more at the link below. There's even more information down in the description of this video. All sorts of things you can get at Cramer's Middletown. They are fantastic. Check them out. They will certainly hook you up. All right, so let's just talk aesthetics and looks for a second before we dive in here. This thing is an aggressive SUV, styled perfectly in my opinion, and I don't think if you had the badge on there, people would be able to tell you, that's a Chevy. It kind of looks like something European almost. Great job to the GM designers who designed this and brought this Blazer back with a refreshed, aggressive, sporty look. Now we'll get into the whole, does this thing live up to its sporty, I guess, demeanor later on in the video, but for right now, from a purely aesthetic, design, looks-wise standpoint, I am a fan for sure. Let's go over here to the side of the car and just dive into all the details. This particular RS version, RS trim, has the blacked out Blazer emblems, the blacked out Chevy bow on the front here as well. Look at this. Look how cool this looks. Especially again on this kind of dreary wet day. These lights, these LED lights look fantastic. You've of course got the RS badge right there into the grill, lots of openings for airflow, all sorts of stuff right there as well. Look how cool those fog lights look. They look amazing. Little drops of rain coming down, getting me a little bit wet right now. But these lights, especially at night, look fantastic as well. They're super bright, really giving this thing a sports car kind of look. Kind of like the Camaro, I guess, like I said, inspired by the soul perhaps of the Camaro, but from all angles, love the way this thing looks. And under the hood here, two different engine options that we'll dive into in a few moments, V6 and a 4-cylinder. And of course on this RS trim, more sporty everything, larger rims. These are 21-inch wheels. The standard are 18-inch wheels, wrapped in Michelin tires here. Love the kind of snowflake effect, snowflake design of this as well. Blacked out everything. All the trim is blacked and matches the car paint, which is really nice. And speaking of paint, the only new thing for 2024 is a blue Riptide metallic paint. This obviously is black, but that's the only new thing if you opt for the 2024 new Blazer over the 2023 models that might still be on lots across the country. Here in the back, dual exhaust right now looking all great. The smoke or the exhaust fumes kind of pulling off to one side with a little bit of wind here. Blacked out badging again as well. All-wheel drive on this. All-wheel drive is a $2,700 option. Front-wheel drive, of course, is standard. We'll talk about the engine power here in a moment, but the lights right here on this dreary day, really looking bright, looking great also. And I love that both of these exhaust pipes are real. They're not just, fake and purely for looks. Both of them emit smoke. Both of them emit a great sound from this throaty V6. A beautiful sound on this engine. Again, one of those blacked out badges here. all really nice. I think this thing is a beautiful car from all angles. Really can't get much better than this as far as design wise for an affordable vehicle. Let's talk about pricing real quick since I mentioned affordability. About 36,000 bucks is what this thing starts at for the 2LT, rising all the way up to 45,000 bucks for the Premier. The RS and the Premier around the same pricing, but with packaging and all kinds of other options, you can easily get north of 50,000 bucks. That's where this thing really kind of I guess missteps, is that the price of it is a little much for what you're getting. All right, let's jump into the engine and talk about what power plants you can choose from. So under the hood here, you've got two engine options, a turbo 4-cylinder pumping out 228 horsepower, or opt up for the V6. It is 308 horsepower strong. So different options for different folks as well. The 3LT trim, which is the second of the 4 trims available, unlocks this V6 engine. And the V6 engine has impressive acceleration, has nice maneuverability out on the highway as well. The turbo 4-cylinder has more than enough power to get you around town, to get you to and from school, to and from work, maneuver on the highway as you need to. But if you want more acceleration, a little bit more, I guess, improved performance, the V6 is certainly the way to go. Now let's talk about fuel economy and what that means for these engines here. So the fuel economy is not all that bad for a vehicle of this size that can tow a bunch of people around. 4-cylinder is rated at 22 city, 29 highway, while the V6 is rated at 20 city, 27 highway. So about 2 miles difference on each city and highway rating depending on what engine you have. Now, as I mentioned, the V6 obviously is the upgraded engine, so it's a little bit more expensive, but there are some benefits obviously. The 4-cylinder only has a towing rating capacity of 1,500 pounds, while the V6 has a 4,500 pound towing capacity. So a lot more towing capacity with the V6. More acceleration with that V6, good maneuvering ability as I mentioned before. The engine, by the way, the size, 3.6 liter for the V6 right here, only a 2.0 liter for the 4-cylinder. But that is it as far as engines go here on the Chevy Blazer. All right, let's get out of the rain and hop inside to that fun interior. Okay, so in the inside of this Chevy Blazer, lots of black and grayscale all over the place. And I'll be honest, the upper trims have nicer materials as far as leather and a higher grade, I guess, touch points. The lower models really kind of feel cheap on the inside, but this one does not. A two-tone color scheme, as you can see, red and black all over the place. More black than red, but definitely some nice touches with the red piping and the stitching all over the place on the side here for the door, as well as obviously these vents and different things on the dash. Let's get in and sit down because I'm getting wet out here in the rain. Let's talk about the sound system real quick since my camera's pointing down there at it. This has the upgraded optional Bose sound system. An 8-speaker Bose system is an option on the Blazer. It does not come standard. Let's talk about what does come standard though. Every single Blazer gets this 10.2-inch center touchscreen, which is actually great. A lot of the different car companies tease you with the different options that are only available on the upper models. Nope, Chevy said all Blazers get this 10.2-inch center touchscreen, which comes with, of course, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Very easy to use, very easy to maneuver and operate. The only thing I wish it had was one big scroll wheel. That way it's easier to use if you're the one driving, if you're sitting at a stoplight and you have to navigate this. All sorts of options built right in here. Super easy to understand, not difficult at all. What might not be immediately noticeable and might be difficult if you're not paying attention is this climate system. Okay, so you see these big wheels, these big vents, which again, inspired by the Camaro. This is how you actually change the temperature. You scroll this wheel and that is what changes the temperature. For the longest time, I was sitting here trying to figure out how the hell do I change the temperature in the car here? And then of course, you notice these big arrows, which to me seem a little gimmicky, but it actually feels kind of cool. I mean, you can only do it on these two center ones, not on these ones on the side at all, but it is kind of cool. That is how you change the temperature up or down, and then the speed of the fan is right here in the center, and everything else is pretty self-explanatory and pretty easy to use. You do have your heated seats here. The Blazer does come available with optional heated and ventilated front seats as well as heated rear seats. This particular model does not have that package included, but you can upgrade to things like the sound and technology package, which adds tons of things to your Blazer. Let's talk about the steering wheel here. This particular one is heated. It is on right now. It was a second ago. I just turned it back on. Keeps the wheel nice and warm, especially for cold days like now. I don't love the attempt at chrome right here, because it does feel kind of cheap. I'm not going to lie to you. It looks nicer than it feels, we'll put it that way. The black badging again for the Chevy bow tie right here. You do have a combination analog digital gauge cluster display for the driver here. All sorts of options as well. Very easy to use, very easy to maneuver. You use this wheel over here to scroll through your different options. You can display all your different normal media stuff, different car information. Pretty self-explanatory there as well. And I do like this. It has your battery and your engine temperature right there as well. So really kind of cool gauges. I do wish maybe this was all one big digital gauge cluster, but unfortunately it is not. You do have some analog gauges still as part of this vehicle. So down here in the center though, more of this great red stitching, an RS badge right there for you to remind you that, hey, you're kind of in the sportier Blazer. Parking sensors as well. You got your lane keep assist, and right next to it, all your different driving options as well. You've got your sport, you've got towing, you've got mountain type driving here if you're going off-road. Very easy to use. The wheel's a little tough to turn, I'm not going to lie. It does take a kind of a stronger grip to get this thing to turn, but perhaps maybe your passenger can be the one who takes care of that. And of course, whenever you change your drive mode, it does tell you up there as well to make sure you are aware of what mode you are in. Doing this in the Tesla style, this is the glove box button. It's right here. It's not a big, handle down there where you're used to it being. Nope, it is just this button, and that is how it pops open. And it's a relatively small glove box. For all the room this car has, these glove boxes aren't that impressive. But right there is your button for the glove box. Also beneath it, for no reason at all, is the traction control button. I mean, usually that kind of stuff is right over here by the driver's hand, very immediately noticeable in the event you have to use it. No, they're like, hey, let's put the glove box and the traction control button in the same place. Don't love that. Don't know why they do that, but it is what it is. I do love though the design of this higher end RS model. Nicer plastics, nicer touches up here. There is some attempt at, I guess, bougier type of styling with this stitching, with the leather and the plastic all combined together. In all, it's a really nice kind of cockpit for the money that you're spending. I mean, it's not a luxury car at all. I don't think it lives up to the interiors of the Jeep Grand Cherokee, the Passport, other mid-size SUVs that maybe this competes with. You do have your traditional Chevy buttons over here. For your switches, only automatic for the drivers. I'm not sure why. I mean, there are $20,000 cars have automatic for at least down for almost every window. Only the driver here on the Blazer. I guess Chevy wants you to pay more to get that to be an option. And down there by my foot, you do have things for the rear hatch, which can go up at different intervals and different angles, as most cars these days. Lots of cubby storage too. Look at this here. Let me zoom back out for you. This right here, a little ledge for maybe a phone, a larger pocket for a water bottle, something like that. Lots of storage areas all over the place. You've got wireless charging down here. You've got some deeper cup holders in the center here. You do have a big well as well. Not a ton of room other than right here in the center for larger items. It could be a little bit wider in my opinion, but this is a kind of a narrower car. And you do have your USB, USB-C here. You also have a USB and a USB-C right here. So lots of ports to charge all over the place in this vehicle. I do wish there was maybe a little bit more of a cubby right here. There's a lot of extra space between the screen and that front speaker. Maybe missed opportunity for another little ledge of, keep your easy pass, keep something like there that you need on your travels. And above us, this huge panoramic sunroof, which right now is just covered in dreary, disgusting rain, because why not for winter, right? A large shade, of course, covers it right back up if you want to close it right there. It is automatic closing front and back, whether you want to open it up to sun or you want to close the sun or the rain off. Very easy to use, very smooth, and it goes the entire length of the cabin as well, which is really, really nice. The folks in the back can experience the wonders of the sky above them as well. Let's talk about the seats right here. Two-toned leather stitching on these seats. They could be a little bit more supportive. They're kind of chintzy for as aggressive and fierce looking as this vehicle is attempting to be. That's where I think Chevy kind of missed on the, hey, should we make this car also live up to the name that we're trying to replicate, that we're trying to emulate. These seats are really kind of lacking in any kind of thigh support and rear support here for the back. They look nice, but I will tell you they get a little bit uncomfortable the longer trip that you are on. So just be aware that while the car does have some more luxurious touches, more sporty touches, there are some things GM misses on the inside. And I mentioned it briefly earlier, but the rear seat here, tons of rear leg room for these passengers in your second row. For a midsize SUV, this thing really delivers on the extra space for your folks who are in the back. So definitely a great job there. Tons of room no matter where you sit, really, in my opinion. I mean, I'm 6'2", and this seat is where I had it when I was driving. Look at that, tons of room still between my legs and the back of this seat. Right here at my legs, by the way, more ports for charging. Another USB-C, another USB, and a 150-watt three-pronged outlet for you as well. You do have your basic air and heat system vents right here as well. You can really control it as far as the temperature back here. Another little cubby hole down there at the footwell as well, which is really, really nice. No hump in the center here at all, which means you've got full leg room all the way across all three seats here in the rear, which is really, really great. Sometimes that hump is super annoying in cars that have four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive capabilities. But again, that big center, panoramic sunroof right above us, tons of light let in here, map lights and handles at every single door, which is really, really nice. Really, really bright actually too. They're kind of almost too bright. Let me hop back out to give you another view of this. You do have a center area here for more cup holders, but cushiony seats for sure. They could be a little bit more supportive, like I said, up front, but overall definitely a nice touch here in the rear seat. Tons of room, so adults could sit back here and be more comfortable than not on a longer road trip. Let's hop into the back and talk about the cargo space here, because there is tons of that as well. You're going to be shocked at all the cargo room this thing has. So let's pop open the automatic power trunk here. So with the second row still up, behind the second row, 31 cubic feet of space, which is just phenomenal. It's like a dozen suitcases could fit back here, it feels like. You also have cubbies on each side that are rather deep to keep, I don't know, windshield washer fluid, any kind of car materials you might use on a long trip to keep your car clean and working great. Nice cubby holes, a spare underneath here with more storage space. Look how deep that is. It's crazy. Tons of room here in the rear. 31 cubic feet of space behind the second row. Okay, now if you put the second row down, which by the way, handles right there, handle right here, they go down instantly, totally flat. 64 cubic feet of space with all seats down. That is just insane for a midsize SUV. You can get lots of stuff in here if you're moving at a small apartment, going off to college, all sorts of things. And I love that the seats go down fast. They go down totally flat. No 60-40 here at all. Lots of room here in the rear of the Blazer. And of course, whenever you're done, you just push your button and the trunk closes all on its own. All right, so that is the interior, that is the exterior, that is the engine on this Blazer RS. What do you say we get this thing out on the road? All right, so out on the road here in the 2024 Chevy Blazer RS, I've got it in all-wheel drive mode right now. Let's punch the gas. Oh, that sounds incredible. I just caught up to this car in front of me way too fast. Sorry about that, sir. But that sounded amazing. This V6 engine really has an incredible sound to it and some really nice pick up and go too. Like a 0 to 60 time of like 6.1, 6.2 seconds, just over 6 seconds. Incredible for a car that really is not, you know, turbocharged, supercharged, or anything like that. It's not a sporty SUV despite its appearance. It really has a nice sound though on that V6. Listen to this thing again. Woo! It doesn't exactly push you back in your seat like maybe the sound would indicate it does. I don't even have it in sport mode right now. It sounds incredible. That is really fun. So the RS model, along with, you know, the different badging and different styling cues, does have tuned suspension and different kind of things to make it handle better. And it is super responsive as far as steering. The brake pedal is super firm, grips really quickly, and this thing stops from like 0 or from like 70 to 0 in really great time. These larger wheels do put out more of a thunk, more of a thud over some road imperfections compared to the standard 18-inch wheels, but at the same time, it's still a quiet ride all in all. Maybe a little more rough because of the larger rims, but right now, I mean, the car is virtually silent, and it is raining today too, so I mean, you can hear a little bit of rain, but as far as the car ride quietness wise, decibel wise, you might say, absolutely smooth sailing so far. and really steady composure too. The thing feels solid and supremely planted, and the steering goes exactly where you point the car. And again, it's a family vehicle, tons of room in the back, but some sportier, more spirited driving options if you want to spend a little bit more dough. So if you were ever in like a 90s Blazer, this is such a far cry from that vehicle. I'm surprised that the name is the same. This is a much more, in general, just a better vehicle, obviously, but it's a larger vehicle. It's got more options. It's more luxurious than the Blazer was before. Chevy kind of like really changed up how they did their old SUVs. I mean, the Trailblazer went away for a few years and they brought it back in its really small SUV. The Trailblazer of the early 2000s was a large SUV. This used to be kind of a smaller mid-size SUV. Now it's a larger SUV. They're really switching things up all over the place. And the rear room here is just actually really surprising. Tons of room for kids, tons of room for cargo, passengers in the back if you're hauling folks to and from a soccer game, something like that. The only, I guess, downside to this vehicle that I can even, I guess, share with you right now is that the windows are a little bit more pinched in the side here, so there is a little bit of a blind spot, more so than I was anticipating now that I've been driving for a few miles. But you do have, obviously, larger mirrors. You've got some blind spot monitoring, at least on this trim right here. So the windows in the rear could be a little bit bigger, but again, you've got that nice aggressive styling. So with those aggressive, fiercer looks, you do have a little bit of a compromise and things that you lose, and on this one it does seem to be a little bit of that visibility. All right, quick acceleration here for you on this road with no one behind us. I have it in sport mode, all-wheel drive mode. 3, 2, 1. Oh yeah, wow. Oh, an incredible sound, already up at 70 miles an hour, just insane. Super quick sprint to 60 to 65 to 70. This 9-speed automatic transmission is smooth. The car does not jerk at all. And you can hear that sound, that exhaust, that engine just pumping out all kinds of crazy horsepower. Sounds amazing. This thing is quick, and I would say that, more than enough for the average person out on the highway, getting to and from where you gotta go. The 4-cylinder, not as fast, of course, but definitely more efficient. But whew, there's nothing like the sound of a nice American V6. I will say that. As someone who has an EV and has no sound from my engine, I do kind of miss the way this thing sounds whenever you take off. Wow. And all your gauges are like in the perfect location. This screen is up nice and high. You can see it really easily. All your gauges in front of you, your analog and digital gauge cluster, all within easy reach, all within easy view. The only thing that is not in the perfect view for me, even though maybe I'm a little bit taller, maybe that's why this is the case, but sometimes I have some trouble viewing the buttons above the climate control vents that I showed you earlier. Right now, the little ledge where the screen is overhangs a little bit, and it blocks the temperature. It blocks some of the buttons for different vents where you want the air to blow. That is kind of blocked in my view. So I do have to kind of duck down to see them sometimes, but that is such a minuscule kind of surface level complaint, nothing super big. And of course, all the safety features you have come to expect on a brand new car are available or come standard on the Blazer. Things like forward collision warning, that is standard, as is lane departure warning, lane keep assist. You do have the available options that include things like blind spot monitoring, which this car has, rear cross traffic alert, as well as adaptive cruise control. So all those things you can upgrade to with different packages and things like that. Well, that is it for today's review of this 2024 Chevy Blazer RS. I have loved this thing. A few things I would change about it, but definitely if you're looking for a vehicle that has the American spirit, a nice throaty sound, get the V6 engine for sure. You don't suffer all that much as far as MPGs go, so upgrading if you can afford it to the higher engine and really experience the Chevy that used to be. I think it is alive here in this Blazer RS. This trim is great. Just watch out for that pricing. Comment below if you found this video helpful and what kind of RS trim things you love the most, what Chevy Blazer you're looking at, and give this video a big thumbs up if you found it helpful. And as always, please subscribe to the channel below here on Overdrive Reviews. That is it for right now. We'll see you on the next one.